Welcome to Same Surgeon, Different Light, Season 6. This is part of the Society of Thoracic Surgeons Surgical Hot Topics podcast series. My name is Sara Pereira, and together with my co-host Sherry Erkman, we will meet cardiothoracic surgeons from across the spectrum of our rich community. We will explore their journeys, the obstacles they've faced in their careers, and the qualities that make each cardiothoracic surgeon distinctive and valued. The opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Society of Thoracic Surgeons.
Same Surgeon, Different Light is brought to you by the Society of Thoracic Surgeons Career Center, where you'll find free access to cardiothoracic surgery jobs, career development tools, and professional guidance. Visit the STS Career Center at careercenter.sts.org.
Welcome to Same Surgeon, Different Light, Season 6. I am Dr. Sara Pereira, and I'm truly honored to host this episode with Dr. Ian Bostock. Dr. Bostock, we have collaborated within STS on several workforces and committees, as well as the Looking to the Future and You Belong scholarship programs. We've been sponsors and mentors and really truly had the privilege of meeting many of our young and talented students and residents. We talk about the importance of finding that one special mentor and one inlet into our workforce, both as students, residents, and international medical grads such as yourself, and how competitive it is these days to match into CT surgery. Ian, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the introduction. This is a perfect time for us to talk about some of these mentorship programs, specifically the Look to the Future program. So the Society of Thoracic Surgeons established the Look to the Future scholarship program over 20 years ago now, with Dr. Yang leading it as the inaugural director and leader, and remains very active in promoting the program and selecting the scholars. We honored the program this year at STS with the 20th anniversary celebration, and we brought back different scholars such as Dr. Tom Wen, Lana Schumacher, Tyrone Hill, and Ravi Ganta for a panel. And all of these people are very successful academic cardiothoracic surgeons who started out as STS Look to the Future scholars. We are fortunate enough to have 3 future surgical leaders with us today for this podcast. We could talk for hours about these people, but today we would like to focus on their backgrounds, their interest in CT surgery, and how their scholarship and their attending the STS Annual Meeting impacted their future career choice and selection.
How great. Ian, this is great. The best part of my job is mentoring, and it always brings me huge inspiration. And over the past 4 years, I've been really honored to lead the Looking to the Future program with STS members such as yourself. Do you know that the program has supported over 944 medical students and general surgery residents over the past 20 years? We also select, in a competitive selection process, STS members who volunteer to mentor our scholars both before, during, and after the STS meeting. And we have a true list of applications just to be a mentor now. Over 2,700 students and residents have applied for the scholarship. So congratulations to all 3 of you for being 3 of our Looking to the Future scholars this year. So I really would love to welcome Tyler Wilson, who is a surgery resident at University of Chicago, now in his research year. Dr. Molly Shields is a surgery resident at Walter Reed Military Medical Center. And Tyrone Hill, almost a doctor as a medical student at Meharry College. Welcome to all 3 of you. I wanted to first start with just some brief introductions about your history and your backgrounds. All 3 of you have really very unique and admirable paths into medicine and surgery residency, and you all have been truly very, very successful so far in your young careers. So can you just tell us a brief introduction with your name so that our listeners could hear it, what institution that you represent, although I just stated it, and then why did you apply for the Looking to the Future scholarship? Let's start with Tyler, then Molly, and Tyrone. Age goes first, Tyler.
It's all right. I'll take the being the oldest here. Well, thank you so much for having me, Dr. Pereira, Dr. Bostock. It's truly a pleasure. I'm Tyler. I'm a current PGY2R, so between my second and third clinical years, doing a research year at the University of Chicago Medicine as a general surgery resident. Um, Little background of me, grew up on the West Coast in Arizona. And did undergraduate medical school in Utah, where I first met Dr. Pereira and had the pleasure of her being one of my mentors in cardiothoracic surgery. And then came out to the University of Chicago for surgical residency with plans now to go on to cardiothoracic fellowship once I finish here. Thanks for having me.
That's great. How about you, Dr. Shields?
Hi, I'm Molly. I'm a PGY2 at Walter Reed. I am in the Navy. So I honestly didn't think I was going to do CT. I was initially very interested in vascular surgery. And the Navy doesn't let us apply really integrated for mostly anything, which ended up working out for me because the end of my intern year is when we had two new CT surgeons that were assigned to Walter Reed and kind of got more of the cardiac program rebooted at our hospital. So that exposure, I think, just sealed the deal that I couldn't not do CT. And then one of my mentors at Walter Reed knew about the Looking to the Future scholarship, and then one of the residents like 3 years above me had gotten it a few years ahead of me. So both of them had recommended it to me. So I'm so grateful. Otherwise, I may not have heard about it just because it's so niche. But it was truly an incredible experience, and I'm so grateful. And just happy to be a part of this group.
Thanks so much. How about you, Tyrone?
Hi, thank you for the introduction. My name is Tyrone Hill, and I'm a second year student at Meharry Medical College. A little bit about me, I'm originally from Miami, Florida, and what brought me to apply to this scholarship was I finished my summer research at Stanford, and I was looking for more ways to get connected to the field. So after a long search of ways for medical students to get into the CT surgery field, I saw the scholarship, You Belong and Look into the Future, and that's what led me to apply.
All right, guys, I have a few questions for you. Maybe you can go in the same order, Tyler, Molly, then Tyrone. So let's start with something personal. What did your parents do, and what do they think about your current successes? It's always great to get some background on people's stories because it tends to make sense once we get to know you.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So a little bit about my upbringing. My parents, my mom is a homemaker, and my dad is actually a minimally invasive gynecologic surgeon. So that was my initial introduction into medicine and surgery itself. And it was honestly many of the opportunities to spend time as a young kid with my dad at the hospital on call, and eventually, once I became a teenager, being able to go into the operating room with him, that really sparked my interest in anatomy, physiology, and surgery, and kind of led me down this path. Um, and I'm sure there along the road there were many times that he may have tried to talk me out of going into medicine and being a doctor, but supported me throughout the whole thing, just to make sure that I was doing it for myself and not just to follow in his footsteps. But both of them are so supportive, and I'm sure they would say that they're proud of how far I've made it and the aspirations that I have to become a cardiothoracic surgeon. But honestly, all of those goals and that drive comes from how they raised me and taught me. That's what led me to go into medicine in the first place. That's what led me to also join the Air Force, which I did just before medical school, and kind of pursue this path to become a cardiothoracic surgeon.
How about you, Molly?
Yeah, so my parents are both lawyers, and I'm one of four, so I have three younger brothers, and none of us have gone into law. So I think we were all wanting to do something slightly different. But I think their dedication to education and how important it was growing up I think instilled definitely the work ethic and the just the drive for wanting to like be knowledgeable at something. And then my grandfather was actually a cardiologist. So when I was really, really young, I remember going to the hospital with him. We would see patients. And even though I was so young, I think I remember just seeing how his patients like talked about him, looked at him, and just like adored him because he had impacted their life so much. And I think that always stuck with me. And then as I kind of went through high school and college, sciences kind of stuck with me the most out of any other subject. Certainly not physics, but like biology and anatomy. And I tried initially as an EMT just to see how I liked kind of the actual clinical side of things and just thought it was the greatest thing in the world. So that kind of sealed my deal to go into medicine. And then surgery specifically, I think parallels sports a lot, and I'm very, very into sports. Like played soccer in high school and did rowing in college. So I'm just used to doing sports and now like running and doing marathons. So I think surgery has the like sports mentality and the performance component of it that I really, really enjoy and just find to be very engaging. And so I think going into medical school, I knew I wanted to do surgery, and then it kind of took me till end of intern year to think about CT. So no, I feel like CT kind of blends everything together. That I find the pathophysiology the most interesting, and I think CT in general has a cool mix of robotics with thoracic, and then obviously open things as well. So I think it kind of meshes all my interests in one.
Can resonate with a lot of the things you just said. And how about you, Tyrone?
So I am adopted, and I was raised by a single mother who worked doing daycare for 20 years before she ended up retiring. She ended up getting a cancer diagnosis. So what I would say is that I feel like she's very proud of me of where I've gotten to so far. I like to think all my accomplishments so far, from college to my master's to now getting to medical school, I would all to her because she's one that pushed me into doing all of this, really. Um, so my initial attraction to medicine was initially through pharmacy. I have a godmother who's a pharmacist, so I would go watch her at work, visit her sometimes. And my journey just started off there. So I ended up working as a pharmacy technician. Then I went to working in respiratory therapy. And so I believe that after working in the cardiac ICU for a while and seeing these patients, it just stuck with me. You're taking care of them, you're seeing them every day. And I ended up just asking the surgeons about them every time I had the chance to, just trying to get conversation out of them and learn more about everything that was going on. That led to me to start shadowing. And when I got to CT surgery, it was just, my mind was blown. It was just a breathtaking experience. And so that's put me on the path that I am on now.
Tyrone, I really admire you, not only for exploring so many difficult and different paths, but being the only physician in the family, and I know how hard you've had to work. And then I look at our field of cardiothoracic surgery and how intimidating it really is. And I remember still walking into my first national meeting when I was a student. I think it was American College of Surgeons, and you just walk in and the whole audience is in dark blue or black suits, and it was hugely intimidating to me because I didn't fit in, I thought. So as a looking at the future scholar, as a second year medical student, how did it feel walking into that huge auditorium with all the screens and the music? And what was your most memorable moment at the STS meeting?
I would definitely say it being my first meeting, it felt very overwhelming and anxiety provoking, especially my first few days there. I think having a really good mentor who sees that and understands that. My mentor was Dr. Bowen, so he would check in on me a few times throughout the day. He would meet up with me. He also introduced me to a few people throughout the conference, so that no matter where I went at, I saw someone I saw and met before. So it kind of kept me grounded. So I didn't feel like just a small fish in a huge pond. I would say the best part of it for me was, I think, just the mixers and meeting everyone and the connections. Coming from my university, we don't have a CT surgery program at all. So it's it's a different feeling to see people who are on the path that you want to go to. It's a different feeling to see CT surgeons all around you and knowing that this is possible. Um, I love the informational sessions because at first it seems like this is like a myth to me. CT surgery, how do I get there? What do I do? Is it possible? But just hearing everything, and it made everything more concrete for me. So yeah.
Thanks for giving a shout out to Dr. Donnell Bowen because he is an amazing human being, and I hope you keep in touch with him. We joke at all of our meetings that he and I are the most introverted at the meetings because we actually are. So we have to challenge ourselves to actually get to the meetings and be mentors. And so I'm glad that you had a really great mentoring experience.
And I have a follow-up question for Dr. Shields and Dr. Wilson. It's obvious from the story, of course, you guys are proud military service physicians and surgeons, so we thank you for your service. And I was wondering if you could tell us about your paths in the military and how that shaped your interest and even your support towards pursuing a career in CT surgery.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
oh,
sorry,
sorry.
Molly, go ahead.
No, you can go first. You can go first.
No, I want to listen to your answer. It's probably better than mine.
It's definitely not better. Um, I I think there was always a component of me wanting to join the military in a like purely in the medical aspect. I didn't want to do it really for any other reason. I just thought that the patient population was very it's just very unique. My grandfather served in World War II, and then another grandfather was in the Air Force in Korea. So we have like some ties with the military. So once I graduated from University of Virginia and I was applying to med school, I actually applied to my medical school, Uniformed Services University, which is a like purely military medical school, and it has all three branches of the, well, I guess four branches of the military. Um, so I applied, and it was actually the medical school application process is extremely expensive, as most people know or will come to find out. So interestingly, this my medical school was the only one that was a free application, and it was in the DC area. And so I was like, oh, I'll apply, and if I get an interview, great, and I can just maybe practice my interview. And then I went and I fell in love with it. I was, it just kind of had, like I mentioned earlier, kind of like the sports performance like aspect of it and the discipline. So I felt like it fit well with what I was looking for. So then I did the direct commission and joined the Navy and then started in med school. Um, so then fast forwarding to residency match, for us specifically, our main options are the three big Navy hospitals. And I felt the most connected to Walter Reed and knew a lot of the staff and the residents there. So my personality just fit best with them. So I applied there and matched, which was great. And then kind of moving forward into looking towards fellowship, we have really great CT surgeons and then one in the Navy who's been a great mentor for me to try to navigate that pathway and figure out how to get to fellowship through the military, because it can be very dependent on the year and how many people are retiring or coming out of fellowship. But it's definitely a unique path in medicine and surgery specifically. But it's very, very nice to have the military mentors as well as the civilian mentors as well. So, which has been why the Looking to the Future scholarship was so incredible.
Yeah, I'd echo a lot of what Molly said. For me, it was a little different in the way that I ended up joining the Air Force. So it all kind of started for me going back to my parents and my upbringing. I also played a lot of sports and kind of grew up with them instilling in me that sense of uh, duty, hard work, service to others, and discipline. And then a lot of my experiences, high school on through now, kind of reinforce that as drivers of what I look to do in life. And so when I was older, kind of starting in my undergraduate time, I lived closer to both my grandfathers, who both one was in the Army Reserves and one was an officer in the Air Force. And I heard more of their stories, and that kind of resonated with me that, military service is a way to align all of those things. It's duty, it's service to others, it's giving back to the country. And I knew I wanted to do medicine, so it kind of provided a route to put all of those together. So I also commissioned, meaning became an officer in the Air Force right before medical school, but I did it through the Health Profession Scholarship Program. So it's a program where the military kind of sponsors you to go to a normal institution, where I ended up at the University of Utah. Um, but you're still a military officer during that time. And I knew going in that I wanted to do surgery, but it wasn't until kind of late in my first year, second year of med school, that I became interested in CT surgery, and kind of through cold emailing a couple of the attending surgeons at the University of Utah, developed mentorship relationships that really developed that interest. And as Molly mentioned, cardiothoracic surgery in the military, regardless of the branch, it's a pretty small community. CT surgery at large is a small community. The military CT surgery is even more niche and tight knit. Um, but everyone is super supportive. I remember reaching out to the consultant to the Air Force, kind of the senior cardiothoracic surgeon at the time, to discuss options, because like Molly said, it's very dependent on the year, the needs of the military, who's retiring, what spots are open, to determine how you go about fellowship. Do you do it right away? Do you wait to do it after paying back some general surgery time, or things along those lines? So I remember discussing with them kind of intensively integrated programs, integrated cardiothoracic training versus general surgery in the traditional pathway, and then meeting with mentors like Dr. Pereira to discuss this too. And they walk you through it and help you choose what's best for you. At the time, they weren't offering the integrated program, but it also worked out that I felt that general surgery was better for me. And then applying, you also have to make other decisions. So Molly's at a military hospital or a military training facility, where I'm at the University of Chicago, where I'm very fortunate to be at a civilian military partnership, where they contract and take some of the military trainees, and I kind of get the best of both worlds. I get that big academic center training where I do have access to the amazing cardiothoracic surgeons here, but I don't have as much access to the military cardiothoracic surgeons. We have some, Army trauma surgeons that it's great to train with. But that was one of the things that really prompted me applying to the Looking to the Future scholarship, was to search out more of that military mentorship with those in the field. And that was the highlight of the meeting for me, was the chance to meet Navy, Air Force, and Army cardiothoracic surgeons in person. Some of them I had communicated with, some of them I didn't even know existed, and discuss with them kind of the nuances of practice in the military, outlook in career, and even specifically, the STS had a military specific session at the end of STS 2026, showing, the national organization support the military cardiothoracic surgeons, and it gave some great detail and look into how things are different for the military surgeons. So that was my goal, kind of going into the Looking at the Future scholarship, was to search out that mentorship specific to the military. And while I benefited immensely from that, I also built connections with academic surgeons, community surgeons, and a great mix of people that I've been able to keep in contact with, and hopefully foster those relationships moving into applications when my time comes, and then into a career in the future. So I'm really excited about that, and can thank the Looking at the Future scholarship for it.
Amazing. How about you, Molly? What was the highlight of the meeting for you?
The highlight, besides kind of what Tyler mentioned about being in that community of military surgeons, just because you get to kind of feel that atmosphere that you don't normally get to feel, even though I am at a military institution, but still being there all together is just really unique. I would say meeting other residents that are trying to navigate this, because I mean, I can't speak highly enough of the mentors and the people that we met, but it was really, really cool to meet residents that were, even the I6 residents or the general surgery residents, and just see how different like paths look. And it's okay if they look different than someone else, but they all can kind of end up in the same spot depending on, what you want, what you're most interested in. Like I think I also was a better fit for general surgery first and then to do a fellowship rather than the I6. But there's a constant like voice in the back of my head sometimes that, I'm wondering if I'm behind because I didn't do that. Or if, getting into fellowship is going to be that much harder because now there's more people going to the I6 programs. So it was very, very nice and comforting to kind of hear other people's journeys, and the obstacles they faced, how they navigated it, and then getting well connected with both of them and mentors to kind of help you through, because it's just so nice to have a community to know that you're not alone in this process and people really, really do want to help, especially in this like looking to the future because so many of the mentors that have been scholars themselves and are giving back to the whole process, which is really, really unique and honestly very inspiring to see as well.
Yeah, it's amazing. You both speak as if you're already seasoned faculty. It's amazing how mature and well spoken you are. So thanks for sharing that. Part of the Looking to the Future program selection that's always really important to all of us is selecting folks that have unique backgrounds and perhaps don't have as many opportunities at their local program to seek out mentors and opportunities. And Tyrone, as a medical student at Meharry Medical College and a person that you've explored different fields already and you really want to do cardiothoracic surgery, I'm wondering how we could make the Looking to the Future program better in terms of the symposia for medical students and how we can alleviate some of the worry in applications or doubt for medical students in applying to our specialty, because we really want to attract not only people that are at the big name powerhouse institutions, but we want to attract people from smaller programs, smaller medical schools, um, with an interest in our specialty. And so, how could we do better from a medical student point of view?
So I would say one doubt I had in my mind was, yes, I can apply, but will I get it? Normally, I see medical students and residents from higher tier medical schools get the scholarship or go to the meetings. So I think one thing that can be done is to showcase the people who come from not top tier universities. Show people from different backgrounds, um, so that people know that it's possible.
And you have a great mentor and great connections now that I think will really help you. I'm wondering if Tyler or Molly can give you some advice on how they felt as a second or third year medical student trying to explore applying to general surgery, because in many ways it's equally competitive, particularly as military applicants. So, can you give our medical students listening just advice on the process and what helps you alleviate the stress of the application?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think it's very common, whatever route you're going, whether you're hoping to apply I6 or if you're unsure which one to do, or dual applying, or just applying general surgery. I think it's very common for med students to feel that anxiety. And unfortunately, I don't think it's going to go away. And that anxiety will stick around kind of throughout your career in every stage as you apply. I'm sure I'm just ramping up and getting ready to feel it when I apply for fellowship in a couple years. But I think the most helpful things are, number one, start early. If you have any interest at all Tyrone did Looking to the Future as a second year medical student. I've seen some people reach out as first year medical students. If you have any interest at all, reach out and start talking to people. A lot of my mentors in CT surgery came from cold emails or even just knocking on office doors initially because I didn't know anyone. So it's important to kind of express that interest, not only to meet people and to learn, but a lot of these programs, especially cardiothoracic surgery, value longitudinal emphasis or investment into the field. So I feel like that's beneficial if you have some way of showing that you've been interested and you're putting in effort, even if you don't have the resources of others. I think that kind of weighs heavy on your application. Similarly, start your application early. Once it comes time to apply, it's nice to have time to take a break from your application, enjoy clinicals, enjoy hobbies, enjoy time away from medicine, and then come back to it and revise it. Because a fresh mind will make it a little easier and a little less stress provoking, as opposed to if you were doing it and kind of throwing it together last minute. And then really figure out what's best for you. Some people may be better suited for an I6 program. Some people, like myself, and I know Molly said the same, felt that general surgery training was better for them. And then there's the potential to come back as a traditional fellow. So figure out what is best for you and talk with your mentors about it. Use them as a sounding board, and they'll give you real feedback. Your mentors, as long as you're invested as a mentee, they'll be invested in you. So using them as a sounding board and being a little vulnerable and talking to them about your concerns, they'll give you good and sound advice. They've been through it, even though they're more removed from it. They understand. And then find those residents, if you have them, or people you've met at meetings through scholarships, like Looking to the Future, or You Belong. Talk to them and just use them as sounding boards, because they'll kind of calm you when you're at the peak of stress and help you through the process.
Good advice.
Yeah, I think that's amazing advice. I would say, I think for me personally, mentors were fundamental in helping me decide on surgery, helping me navigate, and then also developing those relationships so that, one day, they feel comfortable enough to, maybe write you a letter of recommendation. Um, I think that can be extremely helpful because you can almost, with a mentor, you can almost like picture yourself, one day maybe in their shoes. And it's nice to have someone at almost at the, the other end of the finish line to see like, okay, it's possible. I have to navigate these certain things, but I can see the end product. And that's very helpful for me because sometimes you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. So it's very nice to have the mentors that are encouraging you, offering you advice, and have been where you are, just maybe a few years ago. So I would say that's probably my biggest thing is as you're getting to that app, even early in medical school, trying to reach out to find mentors. It almost doesn't really even matter what specialty, because I think my first mentor was and still is a neurologist, which I have no desire to. I never had desire to do neurology, but it's finding those people that can kind of develop you along the way, because this is a long process, and I think constantly being able to improve both your clinical and academic skills, but also your personal development. Medicine is a very unique space in that you are constantly learning and growing in your skills, but also in your development as a person, because you're constantly having to be resilient and overcome, patient complications or hard things at work. So I think that's what's a little bit more unique about our field. So having those mentors to kind of go through medical school and then, even beyond into residency is invaluable. I think another piece, preparing these letters or these applications for surgery, is thinking about what best fits you. Is it the general surgery program? Is it the I6? And I think one thing that I always was trying to figure out was like how to craft my personal statement. And it's not all that different from like, writing one for college, but I think that was another one where you could really stand out depending on like, how you wrote it. So I think kind of starting that and thinking about how you want that to come across, because you'll be surprised. I think, so, people forget how challenging it can be to write a personal statement in a way that's not cliche and moving for the person reading it. So I think starting that early, not even like putting pressure on yourself to like get it done, but more of just thinking about it, because that can be a really nice thing to have in your application. Because if you think about all the people, the program directors that are reading application after application, having a personal statement that can make them remember you is could be very important, and a nice way to kind of differentiate yourself.
Thank you for all
I have
that excellent advice. I keep thinking of what you said, Molly. Different mentors for different purposes, not only one thing. I think is very important to kind of have in mind, because we expect that one person is going to help us with all these things, but usually better to have a nice village behind you. So I had a question. Let's talk about wellness and work-life balance with family planning, since these are primary reasons that students and residents choose not to perform CT surgery or pursue a career in CT surgery. Do any of you have any concerns for these issues as the primary reason that you would not apply to our specialty? What can be established? What can established surgeons and organizations do to improve the culture of our specialty?
Let's start with Tyler, as I know you have a family, Tyler, and your kids are really important to you. I think that at our national meetings, that's the number one question we get at our Looking at the Future symposia is how do you plan your life and become a surgeon and a cardiac surgeon, and how do you do all that?
Yeah, those are all important questions that I've asked myself many times, and I'm sure we all do. Uh, the number one thing I want to tell everyone listening is it's possible. Okay, I have three kids, age 6, 4, and 8 months, born all in either medical school or residency. So it is possible to have a career in surgery and cardiothoracic surgery with family, with hobbies, and with things outside of medicine. It's a long road and it takes work. And definitely, I wouldn't be able to do it without my amazing wife, Amy, who kind of takes the brunt of the family side of things a lot of the time. But we work together to make it happen. She knows that my career is important to me, and my goal with my career is to support my family, who are the most important people to me. And then I know that I still have to put forth the effort when I'm out of the hospital to maintain my relationships with the kids and with her. But it is possible, and I think a lot of people don't think it is. Like your question kind of phrased it, they don't apply because they don't think it's possible. So I think it's important for established surgeons to talk about it, which I think is becoming more common nowadays. I know at the STS there was a lot of sessions on wellness and discussions around not necessarily the work-life balance, but more work-life integration, because the two kind of go together, and it's almost impossible to separate them completely. But I feel like it's important that medical students know training isn't your whole life, and things change a little bit after that. Training in any medical specialty, whether it's surgery or medicine, is difficult, and they can be long. Medicine fellowships end up being 3, 4 years. Surgery fellowship and training ends up being 6 to 8 years or more. And your schedule during training is not as flexible. But once you finish training and make it through, you have a little bit more leeway. From my conversations with attendings and those who have I've talked to about kind of the work-life balance. You have a little more leeway, and it is possible to maintain hobbies, and it's essential to maintain a life out of medicine so that you don't run into burnout and don't kind of crumble in mental health and things like that. So I think making sure we all know it is possible and sharing when you've done it or what's worked for you and being vulnerable at the times things don't work is really important moving forward. And I think the STS and national organizations are noticing this and talking more about it. And then people, especially attending surgeons, are expressing their successes and difficulties much more frequently. So I hope that that opens up the world of surgery and especially cardiothoracic surgery to more people. And it seems like more trainees and medical students and undergraduates are becoming interested because of the vulnerability of the attending surgeons and established surgeons who have experienced this and navigated it. I think it's similar to the application cycle. It's finding someone that you can talk to who has navigated it to better understand what you need to do to make it in the long run. Whether that's, you know, you go into it with kids like myself, or you want to have kids in the future and just don't know the timing of it. It's all possible. It just takes some planning and some dedication and work. But it's, at least in my perspective, it's worth it.
I would say that I fall into the category of wanting to have kids in the future, but not exactly sure how I would navigate that. It's something that, especially as a female, it's pretty much constantly in the back of my mind thinking about that. Especially having a mom who was a lawyer and established, but was able to stay home. And our career is just fundamentally different from that because you can't do work from home really. If you're not operating, you're not using your skills. So I do think about that a lot. And this just, I guess, the theme of my whole talk here is the value of mentors. I think having female mentors that are CT surgeons has been just truly invaluable because the CT surgeons at Walter Reed are wonderful, but they're all males, so it's just a little bit of a different dynamic. And having spoken to Dr. Pereira, but then also many other females at the conference, was so it was just so inspirational to hear people that have done it. Because it is a scary thing. You're like, should I be doing this if I, want maybe this part of my life to happen? Because especially in the past, it's been very challenging. So I, as a female coming into CT surgery now, feel so grateful to have had the women that have basically paved the way for me to, try to accomplish this surgery or like CT surgeon and mother dynamic far easier than, they had it. So that gives me hope knowing that people have done it. It's possible. And it's also something that I think about, do I want to completely give up a career and not, try to make this happen? So I think that, trying to meld them together, however that is something that I want to try to do. And hearing people say it's possible is certainly not easy. I know they'll say it wasn't easy, but it's possible is kind of the reassurance for me to kind of give it a shot and kind of make it work.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I would say that just don't plan it. It just happens at some point, certainly for me. And everybody says, what's the best time to have kids? Is it medical school or residency? Or, I mean, I was an early career faculty. There's never a good time, right? You just have to do it. Tyrone, what about your medical student colleagues and yourself? Do you worry that as a surgeon, you won't be able to accomplish any future goals in terms of work-life integration or family planning?
So, as a single male right now, family planning isn't too big on my mind right now, but wellness and work-life balance is. And a lot of things I hear, especially with like the surgical fields, is that you can't have a family or there is no work-life balance. It's early mornings, late days, it's every day until you finish, and even after. But I will say, going to the conference, I agree with Tyler. I was very surprised to see how many wellness sessions there were and how they really prioritize changing um, people's opinions on that. and it surely did shift my opinion. So I'm hoping that I get to see more of that, to know that it is possible to have a reasonable work-life balance and still be a successful surgeon.
That's great. We would love to hear what all three of you do outside of school and residency for your own well-being. I know Tyler's pushing a stroller. What else do you all do? You have to keep it and make time for yourself in all stages of your training and career.
Yeah, and I will say that that is just good to have things outside of work for yourself, but it will also add to your applications as well because I remember like being interviewed and people want to know what you do outside of work, because baseline we work, that everyone does, that everyone studies. So it's kind of, what's the thing, like almost like your personal statement, what's the thing that's making you different, what things are an insight into your personality and who you are as a person. So for me, I do it less now because residency is like all over the place, but in medical school I started a band with people in our class because we had joined, like we had started med school during COVID, and it was very, very weird transition where you're trying to meet people, but you're like not allowed to. So finally, once kind of the restrictions were lifted, we, a few of my classmates and I all realized we kind of played instruments. So we you went to one of our med school's like talent shows and just had a blast. And then we decided to make a band. So then we played at one of the bars in Bethesda when we had like class parties. So it was a silly thing, but it was so much fun and something that I'll remember from med school forever. So that, and then I also think physical activity. I mean, I guess I'm in the military a little bit, so that kind of goes with my theme as well. But I think actually in residency, having time dedicated for whatever type of fitness or activities you like to do is so important, just for like your mental health and also your physical health, because residency can really take a toll on your body. So I think carving out that time to try to stay healthy and active, I actually think it helps your energy levels, like when you go back to work and stuff the next day. So in that vein, I like to run. So I started running in, I think, beginning of med school. And then they have the Marine Corps Marathon here. So I do that every year. So that gives me something to train for. But I would say those are my probably two big outside of work activities.
How about you, Tyler?
Yeah, Dr. Pereira, you hit it on the head. A lot of my time outside of work is spent with my family and my kids. So a lot of it is, going on family walks. We spend a lot of time outside at the park, and you know, reading books, doing puzzles, anything we can do together. I've learned with my kids, it's a lot more about quality time than it is about quantity right now, and in my training. So, my wife and I try to make that time with them special, and part of that has gone into I grew up camping quite frequently, and I still love camping. I love the outdoors. So even during training, I've tried to maintain camping as kind of a family activity and a hobby. So we try to go at least once a year as a family. And then before the school year, I like to take each of my kids individually on a little camp out. So most recently, before this school year, we found here in Chicago, kind of an hour outside the city, we found a horse ranch that has a campsite on the ranch. And so I took my daughters out there and they let the horses roam free. And so we woke up each morning to horses in our camp, trying to eat our trash and our food. So anytime we can, we try to get out camping and do things outside. I can't agree more with Molly about exercise and physical activity, whatever it is you like. I saw myself doing okay during medical school, keeping up with that, but then the first 2 years of residency really fell off the bandwagon. So it's been nice this research year to get back into it, get back into shape, go to the gym, do a little bit of running, lots of outside time. So I'm excited to carry that forward as I go back clinically, and focusing a little more on myself, because I tend to forget that, and I know a lot of us do. So it's important to remember to invest in yourself so you can have more of the energy and the longevity in a career.
So Tyrone, you're almost entering all your clerkships and you'll have little time to yourself. So on your days off, what will you do for your own well-being?
So I love to cook. My cousin is a chef, and I like to bounce ideas off of her, and she likes to give me ideas to on what to make. So normally my time for me to relax and enjoy myself is making something new, like once every week or every 2 weeks. And recently, I just picked up hiking. I had a friend group. They told me that we were going on a nice 5 mile hike, short, simple, and it was anything but that. It was very life changing, and so I tried to continue that hobby here in Nashville.
Oh, great. Thanks for your answers.
Thank you, guys. This was a great session. I think we learned a lot from you guys, and I'm sure the listeners learned a lot as well. I would like to really thank you for your participation and thank the listeners for listening. This has been great. We also want to thank the STS for sponsoring our Hot Topics podcast. And we wish you all the best and best of luck with anything. And please always stay in touch with your mentors and with us to make sure that you remain successful.
Thank you all for joining us today, Tyrone, Tyler, Molly. We really appreciate it. And I hope you can encourage your junior students and residents to apply to the Looking to the Future program next year.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Yeah.
Have a great night. Bye,
It's been a
Sarah.
pleasure. It's been a
Thanks
pleasure. Thank
to
you all.
This has been Same Surgeon, Different Light, a podcast brought to you by the Society of Thoracic Surgeons. Thank you for listening. If you like this podcast, please rate it 5 stars and let your friends, trainees, and colleagues know about it. On social media, you can use the hashtag #TheFaceOfCT Surgery. And for more information about the Society of Thoracic Surgeons, you can go online at sts.org.